Hey folks, ET here coming at you with the weekly review of SPY and QQQ, just kind of taking a look of what we see going into next week. Now obviously there's a lot of news out there right now with the Wagner and Russia ordeal and Putin, so anything could change. The market can react however it wants. There's also some J-Pow speaking and some more econ data coming out this week, so things can change quickly. But right now we're looking at our dealer Greeks build-up, which are once again on the positive side, which means that technically it wants SPY to go down. So we will see how that goes. It didn't really follow suit so well when we were negative or when we were positive along these things. We did have a few dips, but for the most part our big bars weren't necessarily big drawdowns. We did see a couple here and a smaller drawdown here, but for the most part we did range up through that. All right, going into our price distros for Monday, looking somewhat bullish. Yeah, we have a pretty good chance of a bullish day on Monday. Like I said, news can change that. The market can react however it wants. So data is not looking for news volatility events. Tuesday as well, looking bullish. It really looks, when we go throughout the week, each day is looking pretty bullish. There's some bearish signs here obviously as well. And do remember, these do change throughout the week, so check them every single day. Going into Friday, still somewhat of a bullish position, but a little bit of bear. We have two decent sized bars there. And if we look a little further out, we start to look into more bearish leaning positions. Just checking our dealer OI real quick. Monday is a slightly bearish position, Tuesday slightly bullish, kind of waffles back and forth there, and then Friday is showing actually a pretty bearish position into dealer OI. So if we happen to have a little bit of a chop week, and then maybe potentially Friday there's a little bit of downside coming, we will see. Interesting look here on our GEX. I've already got Friday's expirations pulled up, so let's just take a look. Biggest bar is at 442. Biggest bar to pull towards is at 442. Next biggest bar is 435. So would not shock me. We're below 435 right now. It would not shock me if we don't have a trend week and news doesn't cause volatility where the market drops, for us to range somewhere in between these levels throughout the week. Would not be a shocker to me at all to see us get up to 442 and then slowly grind our way back down to 435. Biggest positive level that for support or repel is 434, which we're currently below, so staying below that could continue to repel price downwards. 417 would be a huge drop in the indices, but that's the next biggest pull to the downside. And then there's not a whole lot of massive positive bars rolling here throughout the week. If price does happen to get above 442 for some crazy reason, there's some 445s and some smaller ones going in, and then obviously a 462 hanging out on there, which is pretty crazy to see. I do not predict us seeing that top or this bottom down here at 417 or 417. I would say I would not be shocked of 445 tops, and then probably a little bit below 435 as the bottom, but I don't think it would be 417, but I have been wrong before. So if there is any change in this information, I will obviously change my thesis, but those are the levels that I am watching. As far as our GEX and VEX profile, this changes throughout the day, or changes every day as well. So check this Monday a little bit after open to see, but right now price is supported way above where price is, a good $10 above where price is, and not supported right around where we are around this 432. So that's pretty interesting to see. There's our 432. That's interesting to see, as that I don't pay attention to that upwards part as much as I pay this part, so this could mean that some more downside could be given as price isn't as supported, or that price will raise up, which would be interesting to see, as our largest bar is that 442 and we have a 441.6 where price is supported. So interesting to see if price gets back up to this spot where price is more supported or not. All right, taking a look at some levels. I need to adjust my dark pools here. A few billions have been shaved off or added on different ones. But for the most part, we are looking at a very unclean chart and a lot of gamma. This is I went to the monthly over here on the stock dashboard. I went to the SPY monthly dashboard, hit and clicked the monthly time frame, and then chose all, which gives a few more levels sometimes. You get a few less if you choose daily and all, but I wanted to see kind of where everything is looking. There are just an abysmal amount of lines that could be used as any form of support or resistance, depending. I use these GEX throughout the day, mind you, as SRs. I don't pay attention as much during the day as if they're positive or negative. The only thing that I do watch is the SPY ODTE GEX to see which one is positive or negative. But throughout the day, I just keep mine gray here. So point out, we still have quite a bit of room up to 448. That is the top when we do our pull for trading view. And then if we start moving downwards through all these levels, there's a massive ghost zone between 425 and 415. This dark pool here is old. I need to delete it, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of it here. So there's a pretty big ghost zone right here if price happens to have some sort of volatility or news event causes a big downturn. So these are levels that I'm looking at. Hopefully these clear up Monday and we open up into some ghost zones that get a little bit bigger. Remember, ghost zones price can move freely depending on calls and puts. So if we're down here and this is a ghost zone all the way to 438 and we have very, very strong call buying and some ODTE GEX to support it, it can move quite freely if upwards towards that. If perchance puts start to climb a little bit and calls start to sell off, if it's in the middle of a ghost zone, you generally see a kind of a downturn towards the levels that are near there. As you can see, this gamma has worked so well over the past few sessions. If you can see how trapped we've been in these little areas, they've kept us pretty tight. Some decent moves for sure, and some definite scalpable moves, but very tiny, and a lot of other tickers have been moving a little bit better. All right, let's go ahead and roll into QQQ. I don't have all of its stuff pulled up, so let's go ahead and just scroll down and take care of that. It is still on the negative side, and its back test still shows that it is a short up here, but it's not very big. It's been shrinking just a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. But its price distro, at least for Monday, is showing pretty negative. Right, going into Tuesday, when we have these bars that are kind of close to each other, it kind of makes me feel washed out to me. Maybe a chop day or a round trip day. Round trips haven't been that great, as the indices have only been moving in $2 and $3 increments, so you've got to really time it perfectly as you go. Going into Wednesday, it's slightly more bullish as we go along, which sort of leads into what we saw on SPY a little bit. Thursday is more bearish than bullish, but just ever so slightly if you add everything together. And then Friday shows a pretty bullish position, but there's some decent bear-sized bars kind of there. I like to kind of think of these as an aggregate sometimes, and do a little mental math and think, okay, what are our probabilities if they're going through together? Going into Monday, it's showing actually slightly bullish, all right, and then Tuesday slightly bearish in dealer OI position, Wednesday bullish, Thursday bullish, and Friday these all have some bullish leaning potentials, which somewhat line up with price distribution, which is interesting to see. All right, let's go ahead and pull our Friday expiry up and see what our biggest levels are. Biggest pull is currently 357, which is below where price finished on Friday. So interesting to see that we've got some data potentially showing a little bit of upside throughout some spots, but some mixed bags. 357 is our current biggest negative pull. Going all the way up in here to 364 is just about, well, actually our biggest positive repel is 347, but we have some levels above at 364, 365, and 366. It closed right here. It is in a ghost zone to 360. This is the most recent data I pulled, and it's got some decent sized ghost zones down a little bit less. As you can see, QQQ looks a lot like SPY, where it has these just really choppy and congested areas of gamma, and then below it gets a little clear as the lower you get, which is very interesting to see. Not saying it happens, but 354, pretty good ghost zone down to 350. That's interesting to see. So if we're taking a look at its data again, well, look at that. 357 is the biggest pull, so would not be a shock to see it range between this 357. If we have a down week, it's going to be 357 to 347 unless this changes, which is a hell of a dip. And if we're having a decent up week, these bars aren't too far off. I'd not be shocked to see it range between the 368 and the 357. Just pay attention to see if these change, to see where you're going with that. Another interesting aspect to look at is, once again, it's most supported down here at 353 roughly, which lines up a little bit with some of our gamma here. Once again, this is 357, and we've got some more down here at 350, and we've got that 352, just kind of a bit of a repel. So price really lining up closer down to this 352, 353, 355, which lines up pretty darn well with this 357 here if we see this curve. So maybe we do see a little bit of a pullback. That doesn't mean right away. Well, what will be interesting to me is to see if we end up hitting some of these top ranges, getting above into these higher levels like this 370. And if this gamma holds, then I might think to swing short for a week or two, just to see if somewhere in between the range, not all the way at the bottom, to see if this holds into next week and later in the week, and if this stays the same as well. All right, so we've looked at QQQ's levels, we've looked at its information, we've looked at SPY. That is all for now. Hopefully this is helpful to you all to start planning your trades and at least getting a picture of how things look throughout the week. Like I said, volatility and news events can change things if they want. It's pretty common. Data cannot predict that, although sometimes data happens to line up at the right moment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that data predicted it. From the platform, it just means that things played out pretty evenly as it went, and it caught the same thing at the right time. So that's my plan for the week. I'm just kind of I'll set some alerts for some of these levels that we've looked at throughout SPY and QQQ on our gamma, and I'll set some alerts and we'll see where price is, and I'll recheck everything and I'll go through the days. You know, remember, if you want to check just next day, you can do that. If you want to just see what Monday's looking like, you can do that. You can go through and see that 437 happens to be the biggest pull right now, and 436 is the biggest repel level we have, the biggest positive level we have. So technically, if we can't get above the 436, price could continue to repel down. If you're just looking for your day trades and not your swings, shortening your expiry and taking a look is very helpful to see what the day's range could be. All right, that is all for now. Everybody have a good weekend and go get that Oprah money.